Good morning. Welcome to Baylor Law School and this commencement ceremony. At this time, I'm going to call forward Harriet Krivesky, Hattie, for the invocation.
Good morning. Please bow your heads. Lord, thank you for gathering all of our loved ones here today. I know the 8 of us graduating here today are grateful for the journey that has brought us to this moment, for the guidance of our mentors, professors, and families, and for the wisdom that continues to unfold before us. As we embark upon this new chapter of our lives, may we remember the deeper purpose of the law: to seek justice, to uphold truth, to serve with compassion, and to use our knowledge for the good of others. Grant us humility in success, courage in adversity, and integrity in all we do. May our minds remain open to learning, our hearts open to empathy, and our spirits ready to serve. For this day, for this calling, and for each other, we give thanks. Amen.
Please be seated. Good morning again. My name is Jeremy Counselor, and I'm the Dean of Baylor Law School, and I am grateful to all of you to be here this morning celebrating these fantastic graduates, soon-to-be graduates, of Baylor Law School. Baylor University was established in 1845 by the Republic of Texas. We started teaching law at Baylor University in 1849, but in 1857 we established Baylor Law School, and it has been around ever since. We are, you might notice, a small law school. We're a small law school by choice. We don't want to be a huge law school. We want to be a law school where we can actually focus on teaching a few students really, really well. We only have 8 graduates today. Some of our graduating classes, which we have every quarter, are larger than this, but an 8 graduate class isn't all that unusual for us. But we always do a ceremony, no matter how small the graduating class is. All of that is to say, if you are a huge fan of 3-hour-long commencement exercises, you are going to be sorely disappointed with today's commencement ceremony. We'll try to drag it out to please you, but I think it's going to be short and sweet, and I do mean the sweet part. This is a wonderful time for the graduates, and it's always a great time for us as well to celebrate their accomplishments, because we know how hard they have worked to get here. One of the things that is true about our graduates is they go out into the legal profession and they do all sorts of different kinds of things. Some of them have a litigation practice, some of them have a business and transactional practice, some of them work for state or federal agencies, some of them work in the nonprofit space. They do all sorts of different things. These graduates will do all sorts of different things, but the one thing that we emphasize must be true of all of our graduates, and we tell them this from the time they arrive until right now, is that no matter what you do in the legal profession, you must serve. You must serve, yes, your clients, but you must also serve your communities to try to make them better than they were when you found them. That is a theme throughout our program, and our Christian mission inspires us to that theme. That is how one of the things that it, I think, compels us to do. At graduation, we have a tradition of honoring a particular kind of service, and that is service in the United States military, whether it's Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Space Force. And the reason we do that is because we live in a country where the rule of law reigns supreme. That is important. That is who we are as Americans. But we can't have a place like that unless there are people willing to defend the place where the rule of law thrives. And so we have a tradition at our graduation of recognizing graduates who have served in the military. And I have the privilege of recognizing two of our graduates who have served or are serving currently in the United States military. And I'm going to ask them to stand and be recognized. Chris Martino recently separated from the United States Army after 20 years of service. He reached the rank of Master Sergeant. And Laura Cepeda, where is Laura? Laura is a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force and has served for 20 years. Thank you both for your service to our country. Sergeant Martino, Colonel Cepeda, thank you. And let's all welcome and congratulate them. I'm going to ask you both to remain standing because here's another part of our tradition. Anyone here present who has served or is serving in the United States military at any point, whether active duty, retired, reserved, please stand so we can thank you for your service. Thank you. Please be seated. The idea of being a nation ruled by law is rather hypothetical unless someone's willing to protect it. So we thank you for your service to our country. I am not alone here today in terms of the faculty. I want to recognize those who are here that are members of our faculty. If you're serving on our faculty or on our staff, no matter where you are in the room, I'm going to ask you please to stand and for us to recognize their contributions to these graduates. Please stand. Thank you all. These are the people who make it happen for our students. Some of them may have been mentioned to you when your students complained about them. You're welcome to introduce yourself to them. I can promise you it's not the first time they will have heard that a student complained to their mom or their dad or their grandparents about them. I'm certainly on that list, so feel free to meet them and share those moments your graduate may have shared with you. Our stage party here are participating, have a role to play in this commencement ceremony. I'm going to introduce them to you very briefly. Their full bios are in the program. I'm not going to read that or repeat much of that to you. But I want to start by introducing to you Dean Pat Wilson. This is Dean Pat Wilson. She is, the way this works is she handles matters that involve students or faculty, which is like the whole ball game, you know? So you may wonder what I do, and I wonder about that myself sometimes. But I never worry about what's going on with students or faculty because Pat does an outstanding job. She's been on our faculty for, I won't say, but it's a long time, an outstanding teacher and an outstanding administrator and leader on our campus. Dean Angela Cruz Turner is in charge of, for the most part, staff and facilities, which is another huge job. So I am blessed to have an incredible leadership team here at the law school, and I'm really grateful to both of you for it. Also on our stage is Professor Dan Tilley, who will be giving our commencement address, so I'm going to save my remarks about him until we get to that point. One of the things that we do at a law school commencement exercise when we're awarding the Juris Doctor, as we are today, that is a terminal degree, which sounds ominous, but what it just means is it's the highest degree in the field. It's a doctorate degree, and so they will be hooded. You will see the graduates hooded right over here as sort of the last stop before they exit the stage. This is a great high academic honor, and our tradition is that the graduating class gets to choose who hoods them. So that is also an honor, and at this commencement exercise, they will be hooded by Tom Featherston and Bridget Fusilier. So Tom Featherston is our senior-most faculty member. He has been on the law school faculty for over 30 years. He teaches in the area of trusts and estates and is a recognized expert in this both in Texas and beyond, a highly sought-after speaker and a tremendous teacher and asset to the law school. Professor Bridget Fusilier is here. She will also be hooding the graduates. She teaches property. She is also a recognized expert in this area. And one of the many things that's so wonderful about Bridget is that she is a model to our students for what it means to serve our community as a lawyer. She does things like Adoption Day, where families can come to the law school and adopt children in a joyful environment. She has headed up efforts to serve our local veteran community by helping them with legal aid when they may not be able to afford it otherwise. She is a role model for the sort of lawyer we're trying to get our students and graduates to become. So thank you both for all that you do for the law school. Another one of our traditions that we will get to now is that the highest ranking member of the graduating class has to give a speech in front of the graduating class. And in this class, that is Evelyn Morey. Evelyn, I invite you to the podium.
Good morning, y'all. When I first found out that I was giving this speech, I thought to myself, how in the world do I start this without saying, "May it please the court"? Only to have at least 2 professors and several other people tell me that I should do that anyway. So, without further ado, may it please the court. Congratulations, y'all. We did it. We are done. And I know I can already hear the little voice in the back of our heads that's saying, we're not even remotely close to being done. There's still the MPRE if you haven't already taken it, and the bar, and getting a job, and everything else that comes with being a lawyer. If anything, we've barely even started. And yeah, that's true. But make no mistake, making it this far is a huge success. A success that deserves recognition and celebration. Before we really get to the celebrating part, I want to focus on the word success for just a bit. It's a word that doesn't really sit well with those of us in the room who've had law school make us weird because, well, it doesn't really have a set definition. There's no one measure of what success looks like. There's no bright line rule for when you have or haven't succeeded. It varies per person and sometimes per day. If you want a squishy, fact-intensive, case-by-case inquiry, there you go. It doesn't get much squishier than trying to define success. And I only have 5 minutes, so I'm not going to try. What I am going to do is share something that I've noticed seems applicable in all settings, no matter the result of that squishy inquiry. And that's success is best achieved through community. And per that community, Professor Tilley specifically, I'm obligated to tell you that I came up with that while watching Megamind, and I thought revenge is best served cold sounded cool, but I couldn't quite start the speech with success is best served through a potluck style. But jokes aside, the fact that success is best achieved through community is something I've noticed in my own life and the lives of those around me, regardless of what the success in the moment was. There's a reason that every member of the Astros gets a championship ring, even the ones who've sat in the dugout for most of the season. There's a reason you don't try cases alone, and there is a reason that this chapel is filled with friends and family members. So however you define success, whether it's academic, spiritual, social, or just finally getting the laundry done, it comes that much more quickly and is celebrated that much more sweetly when you've got a supportive community to help you get there. A great example of this comes from a movie that I actually hadn't seen all the way through until about 2 weeks ago. And it's actually a very common teaching tool here in the law school, and that's my cousin Vinny. Unlike my professors, I don't have like a clip ready to show, so if you haven't seen my cousin Vinny yet, I am giving you homework. That's right, homework at graduation. Throughout the entire movie, Vinny's fiance, played by Marissa Tomei, is constantly asking, "How can I help?" Vinny refuses that support for a solid 90% of the film, and comedic disaster ensues. It's not until the tail end, after getting a good night's sleep for the first time in the whole movie, the importance of which I could write a whole separate speech about, and finally accepting that help and support from his community, that Vinny succeeds. And of course, we get the movie's happy ending. So what's the point of all this? For the past 9 quarters, I have been proud to be a part of the community at Baylor Law, and I could not be more proud of the members of that community that I'm graduating with here today. Without them, and without the support of so many others, I would never have even stepped foot on this campus, much less be able to give this speech. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And as we all move into the next chapter of our lives, I implore you, find your community. Lean on them, rely on them, and be active in that community, whatever it might look like. You are not alone. And if you feel like you don't have a community, go find one. Local, the chapter of your local bar, a church or a spiritual community, a pickleball team, or even just a group of friends to play Dungeons and Dragons with on the weekends, or your hobby of choice. Be active in that community. Help them achieve whatever their definition of success is, and I promise they will help you achieve yours. And the celebration will be all that much more sweeter for it. Congrats, y'all.
Well done, Evelyn. First of all, amen to the My Cousin Vinny homework assignment. We often say, in many ways, that is the most accurate depiction of courtroom drama, even though it's a comedy film. You should be proud of the community that brought you to this point. We're proud of you and all of these graduates. The community, as you said, success comes in community. The community that brought you all to this success is sitting here behind you. So I want you, each of you, to stand and turn and thank your friends and family who helped you get to this point. Thanks. We are fortunate today to hear from Professor Dan Tilley as our commencement speaker. The class selected him as their speaker. Professor Tilley comes to us. He was a Texas trial lawyer, but he got the bug for law teaching, so he moved to North Carolina to teach at another Baptist-affiliated institution, Campbell Law School in Raleigh, North Carolina. He was there for about 10 years, rose to the rank of associate dean, built or rebuilt a really high-quality advocacy program there. We already knew him. We saw him doing well, so we hired him away. Sorry, not sorry. He's done a fantastic job here. He teaches in our practice court program, which is a challenge because you have to be rigorous, you have to have high standards. But the fact that the students would select him for this moment indicates that they know the need for it, and that they appreciate being held to high standards, and that they have certainly met those high standards. Dan Tilley is a friend of mine. He teaches in the He teaches procedural classes and advocacy here. He's in the courtrooms with these students every day, and just a tremendous asset to our faculty. Professor Tilley.
Thank you, Dean Counselor and Dean Wilson and members of our faculty, families. I am just delighted to be here with you today, and congratulations, graduates. It is a tremendous accomplishment. To the friends and families, the loved ones, everyone who could be here, welcome. We also, and I want to recognize those who supported you along the way and that could not be here because of distance or illness, or who have passed along, and we recognized how much they played a role in where you are today and the success that you have had. I do want to thank you. I have been your practice court professor up until this point, and that has been a great blessing. I have now had the chance to get to know you as more than just academics, but as fun and quirky and talented individuals and wicked smart, which is awesome. And it's great to be here to celebrate with you and most of your families. And I say that because one of the contrasts being up here is seeing your faces and remembering some things. And as Dean Counselor said, as a practice court professor, and many of you know our names probably because you received various phone calls, some of which may have been in tears, and various traumas alleged. So we have some expectations, and those come forward. And one of those, I said most of your families, because as Kennedy sits here, Kennedy skipped my class one day, and in skipping my class, she was discovered by one of my colleagues, Professor Anthony Brewster. She attended Professor Brewster's class while skipping my own. And of course, so the next day, what would happen? Well, I called on her, retribution being what it is, and had her recite the various 12 cases throughout the entire day. And then afterwards, retribution being it was, and she taking it well, I remembered something about Kennedy, and that was that her father's former Secret Service. And paybacks being what there was. So when I walked in and saw Mark, I went, this paybacks may be something else. So thank you for the honor of having me do this for your class and for now calling on me, paybacks being what they are. I appreciate that. Please know that I'm well aware of studies that show that 95% of attendees at graduations do not remember the commencement address, much less the speaker, and I fully respect that. And as I speak, I'm quite confident that many of you are already contemplating whether getting up early on a weekend morning and sitting in an uncomfortable pew in a church, listening to someone drone on at a pulpit will count as church so that you can sleep in tomorrow. To the 5% of you who remember these remarks, I do hope you remember them well. And to the 95% of you who are still contemplating what I mentioned, well, may God forgive you, but by all means carry on. I do have something I want to leave you with, and that is this. The conferral of a Juris Doctorate does not mandate how the recipient must use it. You have spent the last 3 years in an arduous pursuit of a law degree and the obvious professional expectations and opportunities that come with it. And as we celebrate that, I want to encourage you to pursue life abundant and to appreciate that you are not constrained by the employees or employment or use of your legal degree. A law degree can be career liberating if you allow it. It can also be life constricting if you let it. And my prayer is that you will use your law degree in a way that furthers your life's purpose, and regardless of the direction you take with your law degree, that you enjoy the richness that comes not from billable fees, but only comes from a life well lived. And so I want to tell you a story and then offer a few of my own life lessons, mostly learned through failure. To illustrate, I want to take you back to 1978 and introduce you to a young woman named Ronna Colleen Shields. She is 26 years old and divorced. She is a single mom with a toddler living in low-rent housing in central Houston. During the day, Ronna works in food service at Astroworld, and at night, she pursues a law degree at South Texas College of Law. She completes a single year of study before becoming remarried, relocating, and expecting a baby girl. By 1980, Rana is now 2 years removed from her law studies and is driving to Waco. She totes along a baby girl dressed in her brother's hand-me-down onesie to drop off her transcript, and unexpectedly, Rana is told, "The dean would like to meet with you." She was unprepared for this, undressed for it, and certainly toting a toddler on her hip. She steps into the office of Dean Angus McSwain at Baylor Law School. In steps a woman who hasn't studied law in 2 years, lives 90 miles away from campus, has 2 young children, one of whom is a feisty baby girl becoming increasingly irritated with Dean McSwain. But he is kind and supportive, albeit curious. Rana answers every question with conviction. She is admitted to Baylor Law School 1 week later. For 2 years, Rana commutes back and forth from home to Waco. She has to pause and restart her legal studies several times through financial strain, child rearing, and more relocations. In 1984, a full 6 years removed from starting law school at night, Rana Colleen Shields walks across the stage. She receives her law degree. She graduates salutatorian, second in her class. And she finally starts her legal career. So what should happen at this point? What obviously do we expect? Well, having persevered so long to obtain a law degree, we would certainly expect that Rana and her work ethic would translate into becoming a law firm partner and a fierce advocate, and if so, we would be about half right. A few years into her practice, she began volunteering on the side at a school that was seeking help with special education students. What she experienced with that sparked a career crisis. She had set out to be a lawyer, and being a lawyer meant being a practicing lawyer in an office with books and papers and important clients. Abandoning the law was unthinkable, assuming that anything other than traditional practice meant abandonment, and it did not, and it should not. Her career would evolve from traditional legal practice to working with special needs students in public schools and the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. On the side, she would earn a master's degree and a PhD in special education. Her career would come full circle. She was hired by the Texas Education Agency to audit school districts for legal compliance in special education services. When her team would arrive at a school district for inspection, she would introduce herself to the superintendent and their team, staff. She would introduce herself as an experienced educator with a master's and a doctorate in special education, and then she would say, "I'm also an attorney." And the tenor of the room would suddenly change. Rana did not use her law degree in a traditional sense, but she never stopped being a lawyer. It has been several decades now since Rana began that unconventional journey toward obtaining a law degree and as a law student. The squawking baby girl she carried into the meeting with Dean McSwain, she graduated with honors from Baylor Law School a few years ago. And the toddler son, Rana raised while at night school, did the same a few years before his little sister, and is proud to stand before you today. Our mother took an unorthodox route to becoming a lawyer and an untraditional way of using her degree. Her impact was one for special needs students in districts across the state. She used her degree to support disability rights for children who could not do so for themselves, and I'm not alone in being grateful she never made partner. Earning a Juris Doctorate opens a vast array of opportunities, so please never think your path is set or your career unmovable, and several of you already know that. Unfortunately, it is actually easier, much easier, to become trapped in practice, to stay on a single path, and to let lawyering define your life instead of being an aspect of it. You'll always be a lawyer. I do want to offer you a couple of things and lessons in my own life about how not to let it overtake you. The first, as my mother recognized, and I hope you realize, is that where you begin is rarely where you end up as a lawyer and in life. So rather than trying to force an outcome, take opportunities as they present themselves, trusting that wherever you end up is where you were meant to be. So often we try to choreograph our lives, and where we will be and what we will be doing. And as lawyers, we do prefer black letter law and precedent and predictable outcomes. Life rarely presents that for us. Mom's career began in earnest as a transactional lawyer before becoming a civil servant. Her daughter and my little sister started out as a science teacher and now practices water law. And I was set to become an estate planning lawyer before finding my way into a courtroom and eventually a classroom. Try not to assume that you know for sure the direction that your life will go or how to get there. Embrace today without knowing how what you are doing today will impact your future and your tomorrow. And then occasionally look back and marvel at how it all fits. After all, it's easier to see God's purpose in your life through the rearview mirror than it is through the windshield. Lawyering focuses on precision. Life is filled with absurdities and blunders. I hope you embrace them and the humility they afford. Ralph Waldo Emerson reminds me of this each and every day in a quote that hangs in my office. It was given to me by my wife, Angela, who knows all too well how overwrought I can become with mistakes and also how often I make them. It reads, "Finish every day and be done with it. You've done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely, with too high a spirit to be cumbered with your old nonsense. Life is plagued by errors, mistakes, blunders, and foolishness. You have witnessed this in me on any number of occasions firsthand. Cases and dates and times and names all seem to run together for me. If this address seems well rehearsed, it could be because I thought it was going to happen yesterday. Mistakes and blunders and absurdities are part of life. Embrace them. They will humble you and reveal you for the human that you are. Third is this: needs are not the same as wants. They are not synonymous. We have 4 actual needs, and you've heard me say this before. It is food, clothing, shelter, and safety. That is it. Those are our needs: food, clothing, shelter, and safety. Most everything else is a want, and wants, if not managed well, create complicated lives at best and financial ruin at worst. And lawyers tend to think that they should have what they want. Early on, I had quite an example set for me in the needs versus wants calculus. It came in the form of a 2-door sedan made in 1982 by Datsun. That is not a dog, it's a car company, although they sometimes are hard to distinguish. Many of the girls I tried to date certainly thought so. It was many years used. My father purchased it for $3,000. Dad was a partner in a law firm in Dallas when he acquired that Datsun. Here's a small aside. My parents divorced when I was very young, thinking they had nothing in common, and they'd both go off to law school and become lawyers, which is super irritating, but nothing that therapy can't handle. Dad was a partner in Dallas in the 90s when he bought that Datsun, or drove that Datsun, and at that time, his fellow partners were enamored with this new car company. It was called Lexus. And honestly, what better way to go the 4 miles from Highland Park to the skyscraper downtown than but in a Lexus? But not Dad. No, Dad drove a 1982 Datsun. When I turned 16, he let me and a buddy take it to the mall. It's the first time I ever drove the Datsun, and I remember that day well because I got in a wreck. And it was Father's Day. Yeah. Over the years, that 82 Datsun would be stolen, abandoned, recovered, vandalized on multiple occasions. My dad still drove it. It became my college car and endured several other vehicular encounters before being sold for $3,000, exactly what Dad had paid for it. And I asked him once, "You're a big firm lawyer, partner, why a Datsun and not a Lexus?" And his answer was pretty simple: it's all I needed. Even as a successful lawyer, Dad never conflated needs and wants. It wasn't that he couldn't afford expensive things, it's that he didn't, and in doing so, he kept his finances sound, his debt low, and his options open. It was no surprise then when Dad retired 10 years before his other partners. So as a lawyer, I implore you, focus on your needs rather than your wants. The other is this: life offers some of the finest opportunities for advancement through failure. Lawyering tends to focus on winning and procuring client advantages. You've been trained exceptionally well in contract defenses and corporate structures to limit liability and trial lawyering skills to dissect witnesses and cross-examination. We find and work for advantages for our clients. It is, though, as individuals, where failure presents an enormous opportunity for advancement. Throughout my life, I have failed time and again. It began at an early age with anything remotely athletic. I was roundly rejected on every single team I ever attempted to play on, every flag football, kickball, baseball team, or otherwise. I have been roundly rejected from graduate schools, business schools, jobs, and before my lovely wife, a plethora of the opposite sex. I can say, though, with each rejection and failure came something more valuable than when I first saw it. So standing here before you today, I can count at least 10 different professional rejections on my path to being appointed as a practice court professor. And I thank God for every single one of them. Your initial failures and rejections become your successes eventually, so embrace them. And offer yourself some grace along the way. You will stumble while learning to run. Lawyering offers a great opportunity, if you allow it, to mitigate client risk. I implore you, though, in life to assume it. We construct lives through choices and actions that yield vibrant experiences and others muted experiences. So often, as lawyers, we seek the safest route, the one with the least risk. It is our job. And in fact, one of the key tort defenses is to point out how the person seeking recovery is actually the one who assumed the risk of their errant behavior. I want to encourage you, though, to set this mindset aside in your own lives. Assume risk, responsible risk, but the kind of risk that offers life-enhancing rewards. Risk discomfort and awkwardness and uncertainty. Explore strange places and different cultures. Some of the finest food comes from street vendors and the kindest people you'll ever meet in your life. Communicate only through pointing and gestures. You don't need to know foreign languages to communicate or a smartphone to give you directions. Be strategic and calculating as a lawyer, but as a person, carry cash and a compass. By the way, Dean Counselor never carries cash. I happen to always have the one on the cash, and I think he finally figured that out and uses it to his advantage. And the last is this. The American legal system is adversarial in nature. It relies on opposing sides to achieve just outcomes. Life, though, is best and made vibrant through relationships built on love, on support, and community, and all the various places it comes from. At the end of our lives, there will be a great accounting, but it will not be one of billable hours. Clients will not gather to extol our brilliant contractual remedies. What will make you rich will not be your fee arrangements. It will be in the relationships that you form. It will come from the lives you invest in and who reciprocate by investing in you. It will come from faith and community. Today, you graduate with more than a law degree. You carry along from this place relationships that have nurtured you along the way and will enhance your lives as you go. Please know something. God loves you. Your life is worth far more than your profession, and when times are dark, and they will at times, keep in mind this bright day, and the people who supported you then and always will, you have us to turn to for your support. So when life has you up Chocolate Creek without a popsicle stick, know that we were always here and will come to your rescue. Congratulations, dear friends. You are now part of a special fraternity of Baylor Law graduates. May God bless you always.
Wise words, Professor Tilley, and a lovely tribute to your parents, and also you and your sister and your families are a lovely tribute to your parents. I knew it was your mom the whole time. Just want to point that out. Also, I want to say, Kennedy, because I know your dad a little bit, I think you were treated unjustly by Professor Tilley And that's the official position of Baylor Law School. Excellent job, Professor Tilley. Excellent, excellent job. Professor Wilson, the time has come for the conferral of the degrees.
Good morning. Let me add my congratulations to our graduates. Graduates, would you please stand? Dean Counselor, each of the candidates before you has completed the requirements for the degree of Juris Doctor as prescribed by the faculty of the School of Law and the Baylor University, acting through the authority of the Board of Regents. It is my pleasure to present the class to you for the conferral of the degree.
Each of you, having completed the requirements for the degree of Juris Doctor, as set forth by the Baylor University School of Law and its faculty. Upon the certification of the Faculty of Law and on behalf of the Baylor University Board of Regents and myself, it is my pleasure to confer upon you the degree of Juris Doctor. Congratulations. Okay, family and friends, as they move forward to receive their diplomas and to be hooded, your job is to make as much noise as you can when their name is called. We are in the Truett Chapel, but I just want you to know that we keep score. We measure your love for the graduate by the amount of noise that you make. So, have fun. Let loose. Here we go.
Kennedy Lennox Childers. Harriet Ann Kraveski. Landry Gale Laywell. Christopher Dooley Martino.
You're winning the love battle right now.
Evelyn Teresa Mori, magna cum laude, highest ranking student in the graduating class. Marco Xavier Pena. Maya Ann Wrigley. Laura Annette Cepeda.
Let's give them all one more hand of congratulations. We normally don't announce a winner. But Laura, I think you got it. In part because of a few Baylor law students back there who I see. Congratulations again. We have enjoyed this time. We've got 2 hours and 10 minutes to fill. Please, have a seat for just a moment. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to process out, okay? We ask you to please keep your seats, because what we're going to do is we're going to go out and then we're going to turn around and come right back in to take a photograph up here at the front, a group photograph. We will look only at the official photographer until no matter what your mom says with her iPhone, we will look only at the official photographer until he is satisfied, and then your mom and your grandma and your dad can take all the photos that they want, okay? Then we invite you all to join us at the Law Center, which is this way, across University Parks. We will have a reception there in honor of the graduates. The classrooms and courtrooms are open. They can show you where all these alleged incidents they've told you about have occurred over the years. They can embellish their stories that happened to them, these horrible things they accuse us of, and that will be available as well. We strongly encourage you to come. It's a delightful time. So, graduates, I will leave you with this thought. after thanking our registrar team for putting on this graduation, Jerry Cunningham, Lauren Porter, and Susie Daniel. I want to thank Eric Gell back here for being our photographer, Mr. Womack, our pianist, thank you, and for all those who contributed to this wonderful ceremony. But graduates, I'll leave you with this thought, and I think it's in keeping with Professor Tilley's remarks. Aim at heaven. If you aim at heaven, you'll get the earth thrown in for good measure. If you aim at the earth, you won't get either. Let's go forth.